Hello and welcome to Limassol, Cyprus. I'm Andrew Sachs-McLeod, Chief Executive Officer of FinanceFeeds, and today I'm joined in Limassol Marina by Paul Orford. Hello,
Hi,
Paul.
Andrew.
Hi.
Nice to be back again.
Nice to see you. And today we're going to talk about a very interesting subject, which is the current situation that the retail Forex industry finds itself in, which is, 5 or 6 years have gone by and there's been a status quo among many retail brokerages. Is it sustainable and where's it going?
It's a very interesting conversation because we've had this many times off air. It's at a turning point. Now, I don't personally believe that you can still have your usual MT4 offering with a bonus and learn how to trade Forex. We're going to teach you how to do it.
100% right.
How many have you seen out there now? The market is absolutely destroyed, I would say, by this, because before, when you did have your core of brokerages, we'll call it, I'm not saying I'm against the market, but what I am saying is I'd rather see quality rather than quantity. But where we do have a massive dearth now of, should we say, brokerages have a different outlook on the market as opposed to the original people. So yes. I think there is a turning point. I think the regulator is going to have to play a key point in this because the industry obviously can't regulate itself, which is another discussion in itself. But, well, if you tell me what you think.
I think you're absolutely right. You see, what's happened is that the electronic trading sector, if you go back to the days of Matchbook FX, back 15 years ago in America, that was the time when the institutional world of electronic digital trading went into the hands of the retail traders. So that was 15, 16 years ago. Didn't become very popular until the end of the first decade of the millennium. So in 2007, 2008, lots of retail companies started up, largely because packaged solutions became available. So it was almost, and I don't wish to be rude about anybody's technology companies, but it became a kind of lazy man's way into the retail business as a brokerage, if you see what I mean. You didn't have to think much. You could just go and buy yourself an off-the-shelf third-party solution. MetaTrader, for example, here in Cyprus, has been very successful. It's ubiquitous. But why is that? There are two reasons why. First of all, you're a young startup. But are you really a startup, or are you a white label of something? Because they made the whole solution so that you don't really have to do anything apart from just press go and away you go.
Data.
Yes.
Data will travel.
Data will travel, and then what happens is they all become the same. So that's happened, and as a result, go back to that time before the days of using liquidity aggregation. Those particular platforms were designed to be internal only. No transferring anything to the retail. This is a very taboo subject, by the way. It's not a very nice thing to say, but certainly the MetaTrader 4 platform was designed as a closed system. So it was designed dealing desk, which worked with the counterparty was actually the dealing desk to a large extent in a lot of unregulated brokerages. Then along came companies like Goldeye and 10 and PrimeXM here, all across the world, to make solutions to adapt the MetaTrader, to integrate it into a normal system so they could trade outside. However, why is that? It's because by that time the Chinese market had gone towards the automated EAs for the MetaTrader 4. So what you've got now is a combination of good quality companies that use MT4, but they have no data, they have a problem with their value proposition because they're all the same. Or you have this system where they're using a B-book system where B-book is...
It's always going to be there, it's like, although everybody likes to claim their STP, it's always going to be there because every brokerage has their own philosophy. Okay, so although they may start off with the intention or the budget just to do a book, eventually they kind of bring a risk department, and we'll call it, where they can manage the risk to take into account the B book.
Especially now after the Swiss bank.
Well, of course, yeah. But it's very interesting what you say with regards to MT4 because with the development of this market, and it's always evolving, that's why we love it, is you are seeing new platform providers come in. People like Spotware, for example, where it is known as an NDD platform.
That doesn't even need a bridge. It's connected by a fixed API.
Well, this is what I've always kind of looked at it as. It is like the iPhone as opposed to the old Nokia. Okay, the old Nokia is MT4. It served its purpose back in the turn of the century.
Actually, that's a very good analogy because you were tied to its ethos. There was no alternative.
No, of course
Everybody used it, and you had to abide by the actual settings and parameters set forward by Nokia. That's right.
However, with things like Spotware or CTrader and the various products that they do have, very, very flexible, very easy to use. For being a liquidity provider, when I know somebody's using a seat or spotware product, for us to connect is very easy. There's no third parties involved, so the relationship's a lot easier.
Yes.
Easy to connect. NDD platform. So if I was a retail trader, there'd be a certain checklist in my mind that I'd be looking for if I was going to trade. Number one, regulation. Number two, always check the forums, because people do leave the truth. Sometimes there are some slanderous things left on these forums.
That's true. That's true. Especially that's another problem, isn't it? If you look at the proliferation of retail traders that were around 5 or 6 years ago, all of them were using platforms of unregulated brokers, and it gave rise to those kinds of forums, which are very much. They're not really a news. They're just a place for people to. Yes, it's a conduit for people to vent, and that still exists. But are we really moving away from that now and into the real individualistic, value proposition orientated world of retail forex? Because in my opinion, in its previous form, it's not really sustainable, because you mentioned CTrader. CTrader has an open source system. You can develop your own applications for it. You can connect your own systems to it. Same with Saxo Bank. They've now got the open API. A local bank can buy their system and adapt it and integrate it into their own system themselves and make their own trading applications. It doesn't say anything on it. There's no white label system. It's just fully integrated. It just happens that Saxo Bank is the technology provider and the brokerage behind it. Is this the way forward, or is there other ways of engendering not only a better quality of client, but ensuring that the retail side loses its very variable reputation for having, Britain and America has the good ones, and then there are other places in the world saying, those offshore registered companies that have got a bad reputation. Is the days numbered of that? Probably is, right?
It's hard to say. It's all down to the individual. You can't use a catch-all phrase, say, you're regulated by X, therefore you're good, because we've saw in the news, and we know from industry sources that just because you're regulated by, we'll call it one of the big three. Even
in London, they've said there's been a few. The police came to CWM's offices recently.
Yeah, I mean, and that speaks for itself.
Yes.
How
the
often?
FCA did nothing, by the way. The police came to deal with that.
Yeah. So, but with regards to things like UK brokerages, I mean, they're not immune to prosecution. It's just, and that's my point, is that when people say CySec regulated, therefore it must be on the dark side of forex.
CySec's starting to do some
fantastic news, really good news for them, because it needs to clean up the industry.
Yes.
Okay. And I believe they will get there at some point.
Well, it's quite clever, isn't it? Because what they did here in Cyprus is that they welcomed the retail. They were variable in quality. Some of them very small. Some of them start-up small. And as we said at the beginning, they took off-the-shelf packages, and they're run by very small people who may have been a salesperson in an unregulated brokerage before. They took that and they established a brokerage industry here, which is very big. The whole country is a hub for forex. You see it everywhere we look here. Here we are in Limassol Marina. Everywhere you go outside, there are names of forex companies, there are offices of forex companies. It's now a very established business here in Cyprus. So what they've done has been clever. They've welcomed the companies in. Given them a very flexible, good quality, low tax way of operating their businesses, which means, there's nothing wrong with that, because giving a low tax system and a well packaged system means that the company doesn't have so many operating expenses, it can pass it on to its clients if it's run properly. However, now, because it's established and nobody's going anywhere, because Cyprus is now it's one of the, you probably have to admit, it's one of the world's biggest forex industry hubs. The regulator can now turn the wick up, if you want to call it that, and is now starting to punish people who don't behave themselves.
And I agree, that's a fantastic way of doing it as well, because they brought the business in, and you cannot see them going from this regulation here to go into the UK regulation or to a German regulation or a French one.
That's right.
There's
they
no
won't
point,
do it,
because it's all operating in the same sectors, same set of laws
Yes.
and standards anyway.
Yes, and also here the skill set is higher.
Of course.
It's so much of a... If you are, for example, a good quality brokerage here, a big one, and you need some new staff, you can hire without any cost, because the people here know the industry.
Yeah, you got it.
Whereas there isn't anything in France or Germany. There is absolutely no. First of all, those countries, in my opinion, are very behind in terms of technology, and there is no electronic financial markets system in any of those places. The only one is London, which is institutional. Cyprus has got the skill base, the technology base, even the tech providers now are based. You have Leverett here, you have MetaQuotes here, you have O Systems, all the platform providers, and you have TopFX, liquidity provider, is all in Cyprus. So there's absolutely no reason why any of them would go anywhere, I don't think.
But also, like you say, like where they're always evolving, these businesses, and they do need new staff members, how hard is it to recruit a dealer in Berlin, for example, as opposed to being in Limassol? You could shout out the window.
Easy. Here, very easy.
I need 3 dealers.
Very easy. I'm sure in this, here we are in the Ypsilon restaurant in Limassol Marina. I'm sure that at lunchtime and in the evening, you could probably find exactly those candidates sitting next to you on the table.
I mean, we could walk down the path there, have a drink now, and we're opposite Exness.
Yes.
We've got Moody's there.
There's
plus 500. There's a multitude.
Forex just
I mean, it's staggering, really, when you walk around.
It is.
It's fantastic.
So do you think that Cyprus, this is very interesting because Cyprus is actually a place, from a personal point of view, as somebody who's been in this industry for many, many years, I have noticed a very big increase in the quality of Cyprus as not only a place, but as a business, a place to do business. I've noticed an increase in the quality. It has a very good a westernized way of doing business, and the country's geared up for it.
I agree.
The question is whether it will now evolve into being a very big, not just a retail centre, but a major electronic trading centre.
No, I think it can. Well, it can make its own choice, and this is an interesting point because it can either stay and maintain the same path of the retail empty for, we're going to just give you regulation like poker, like playing chips, just part like that. Or they can bring it up another level, like Tel Aviv, for example. It can
technology.
A European Tel Aviv, for want of a better phrase, where you've got technology.
Fintech, startups.
Yeah, of course, everything like that. You've got everything that you need. You've
Venture capital investors, maybe.
Of course, because you've got low tax rate, you have got an intelligent workforce.
Very much so,
They speak the international language of English.
Yes.
Easy to get to. I mean, look, it takes how long? To Dubai, it's easy. Tel Aviv, it's easy.
That's
London,
right.
Frankfurt,
That's
it's so easy.
Very easy. And even to China, you can just change in Europe and then a direct flight to China. So, and many businesses here do a lot of business in China.
Well, of course, because they have the Cypriot government has an arrangement with the Chinese government as well, so they have the free flow of movement very easily. So I think in the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see some big things in Cyprus.
Yes, I think so too.
Moving away from the old all-inclusive holiday,
That's right.
to, it will be a technical hub.
Technology,
Yeah.
and with that will come all the investors and the startups and the financial.
Well, one follows the other, doesn't it?
It does indeed. It does.
You think, let's go back 10 years. Okay, what would you have had here? A couple of retail brokerages?
Maybe. You'd had Windsor Brokers from 1988. They were the first.
Yeah.
1988 they came here.
But after that, there was nothing.
Nothing.
And it's just
Until 2009, really.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's organically grown from there. Then you've had the big labels develop from here, like FX Pro, for example.
That's right.
And
That's
then it's
right.
kind of grown from that.
That's actually got an interesting one. That's quite a successful company worldwide, and it is it has offices in London, but it is a Cypriot company.
It is, of course. It started here.
Yes, it did.
Very successfully as well.
That's right. So this is the B-book model and the old-fashioned, unregulated. This is interesting because the old-fashioned unregulated offshore companies that came from other parts of the Middle East and once they started opening shops in Cyprus, that was the next step towards becoming a bona fide company.
Yeah, you got it. I mean, many of them have as well. A lot of the brokerages here have gone from, like you say, the offshore model to move into regulation because it's a nice, easy way to get regulated.
It is indeed. It's
and
inexpensive.
Yeah, exactly. You're operating under the same laws under the EU or EU passport system.
MiFID,
so why would you not do it?
Yes, I agree.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't know that there's a word for this, but if you're a francophile or an anglophile, I've become a bit of a cyprophile in terms of this is a new word, in terms of doing business here in the Forex industry. I think my opinion is that the evolution of it is that there is a lot of future, whereas in other parts of Europe there isn't actually.
Right. I mean, look, how often do you visit London?
Regularly.
And the challenges you face. Now
It's
imagine,
all institutional.
of course. Imagine if you're a retail brokerage turning up in London. £1 million, we'll say, in your pocket. How much is going to be left after regulation?
Well,
and office staff.
This is the thing people don't understand about the FCA. It is almost like a self-regulatory organisation. Here in Cyprus or in America, for example, you can go to the regulator. They'll tell you exactly the parameters to stick to. You then sign a document. You adhere to all of those practices, and then they give you a licence. In England, it's different. What they do, the FCA is almost like a self-regulator. You go to them. You tell them how much net capital you need to run your business. The minimum, of course, is €730,000 because of the MiFID laws.
Yeah.
But the FCA itself doesn't stipulate. So you could tell them 5 million, which means you must keep 5 million. You could tell them 700,000. If you're not a market maker, if you're an A-book only, it's only 150,000 net capital because you're transferring the trades
trade goes
out.
into the market,
Exactly. But it's almost like that. And they are really not geared towards the retail shops as much as they are towards the, now they split it, they've got the Prudential Regulatory Authority in charge of the banks. It's really banks, dealers, like Citibank, JP Morgan, HSBC, it's the dealers and the institutional technology firms, and then the non-bank, big institutional companies. So the thing is this, now, with the banks in so much trouble there, you have the largest Forex dealers in the world are Deutsche Bank, Citi, Credit Suisse. They're all in big trouble. They've got they're making losses. This means that the Forex dealers of the future may well be the non-bank liquidity providers. That means that here, Cyprus, Australia, parts of London, Suckton and LMAX in London, and other big, good quality providers may take over from the banks.
Well, everything evolves, Andrew. Everything evolves. When there's a gap in the market, somebody will always move in there.
Yes.
And this will happen with liquidity.
Yes, I think
it happened when the prime of prime model come. There was a gap there, and it's filling out at quite a drastic pace.
Yes.
But with that as well, there are companies, they're more brokerages than prime or prime brokerage, if that kind of makes sense. They're offering a prime brokerage service, but it's kind of not really, should we say. It's more of a take our API.
Yes, that's right.
Deposit funds here. You can take our feed.
It's almost like it's like a retail B-booker, but one level above where the brokerage is the customer. Yes, that's it. So I think technology will be, you might find that now brokerages will go to non-bank providers for their technology solutions and things like that, which is very interesting. But that's something we can certainly pick up on in the next series. Nice to see you, Paul.
Pleasure,
as always.
Andrew, as ever.
Paul Orford, Vice President of Business Development at TopFX. I'm Andrew Sachs-McLeod, Chief Executive Officer of FinanceFeeds here in Limassol, Cyprus. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Goodbye.